Hi YouTube, it's ACDodd here again, and I've got yet another early start. It's 4:15 AM, I'm just loading up the car, and in this episode I've got two cars for you, and we're heading north. So let's get on to it. Okay, where are we today? Well, we've come a long way, and we're now in Oldham for this lovely Mark II. Beautiful car, 1969 998. So let's have a quick look inside. This is a lovely Survivor. Look at that, beautiful car. So, and why are we here? Well, let's have a look under the bonnet. So under the bonnet, we've got a lovely original 998 engine. It's had some work because the owner had compression problems. So he's just fitted a very nicely rebuilt head by Keith Carver. This one's slightly modified, so it's got a little slightly bigger valves in it, and it's had a light porting. So this one's going to go very well. Obviously, we've got a HS2 carb and a standard airbox, so it's not quite going to go as well as it would do if it had a bit more carburation. But I think the first thing we need to do is to go and talk to the owner and see why he's called us in. Okay, so this is James, all right? So James is the owner of this lovely Mark II. So why have you called us up today, James?
So I've been having some running issues. It's been running quite rich, and then it was like bogging down when I last took it out. I've not driven it much for the last 2 years. Wow. Yeah, mainly because I'm like wondering whether it's actually going to make the drive.
Okay, so it's potentially quite poorly running then.
Yeah, okay. It's been a bit better since we fitted. Well, I fitted the new head. Okay. But yeah, I'm just wanting it to run right. I'm hoping to keep the car forever.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good thing because obviously we need to get your car on the road, and we need to keep you, keep you on the road and keep your classic running and make you enjoy it. Yeah. But the interesting thing is, you called me up a long way. Yeah. Because I'm based in Salisbury and we're in Oldham, so this is a long way up. Yeah. Why did you think it was worth getting me all this way up?
I suppose, yeah, I think it's a skill. Like to tune them, it's a skill I don't have, and I didn't know who to trust. There's a lot of there's a lot of cars that you've tuned on YouTube where it's all really, really positive, and yeah, you're someone that I'd trust to tune the car. Okay, all right.
Well, I've obviously got a reputation I've got to live up to now, so
no pressure.
I suppose I'd best shut up and go and deliver. So let's, without further ado, let's go and crack in and see what we can find.
Yeah, amazing.
So, you might be wondering why I've got the carburetor off and I haven't even started on the ignition yet. Well, truth be known, I have actually started on the ignition, but I've got such a poor running engine in terms of how lean it is, and it won't rev. So, what I'm actually doing is I'm going through and going to put some fuel into the engine so I can at least get it to rev up. With that in mind, I've taken the carburetor off. And we're going to put a new spring in it. So that's the spring that came out. We're going to change it for a new red one. It had a GX needle in there. And we're going to put an AH2, which is a lot richer, but this has got a modified head on. So that will do for just getting the engine to rev, and then I can tune it, and then we can adjust that either leaner or richer or whatever we need to do with it as we get into the tune. But this will allow me to rev the engine, to check the valve, to check the ignition timing and everything else about it. It just makes the engine easier to handle while I'm doing that. So, yeah, interesting. I'm starting with the carburetor there. That's not normally how you do a tune, but the engine was so poorly running, as I said there, that I needed to be able to get some fuel into it to make it rev, because I couldn't make it go up the rev range to check the advance curve and things like that. So that's why I started with the carburetor here. That's not normally how you do that, but that's basically engine handling. It's easier for me to actually work on the engine if it actually revs properly. This was so poor that I couldn't actually rev the engine. Anyway, moving on from that, the reason why that was so poor is because, as it turns out, the carburetor had more problems, which we'll get into later. Okay, so got the engine going a bit better. Still a bit lean, so I think we're going to need a bit more fuel in, but I've got it enough to work out what's going on. So we've got insufficient ignition timing by about 5-6 degrees. So, but we've also got a points gap which is a bit too small. So what I'm actually going to do, unusually, is take the distributor out, adjust the points, but also the vacuum unit is dead. So I'm going to replace the vacuum unit. There's nothing wrong with the advance curve and the distributor. That seems to be sensible for what we need. So we'll put a new vacuum in it, set the points, put it back in, set the timing, and then we'll do the plugs, because as you notice the plugs are out, so let's go and have a look at those. So over to the plugs, as you can see, these have done very little miles. In fact, you know, it's just kind of been up the road and back on these plugs. Unfortunately, we're running 6s. So I think these are going to be too cold, and obviously I'm seeing that already. So I'm going to change them for a set of BP5s. And the other thing is we got plug gaps that you can put old set of feelers in. So in reality, this stands no chance of being able to get the engine dialed in and running clean until we can get those plugs cleaned up and gapped properly. So we'll put a set of 5s in, gapped at 25 thou, and move on. So Dizzy's out. I'll just give you a nice close up of that points gap. That's a little bit small. So but what we're going to do is just going to adjust that, just to open that up a little bit more. In this particular case, the points gap is small, so the dwell angle is a bit big. So what we don't want to do is overheat the coil, and obviously our timing will also change as well, but it doesn't really matter now because the Dizzy's out. But we're going to reset that back to about 60 degrees, and then we can carry on with the tune. I'm also in the process of removing the vacuum, as you can see, so we'll get a new one in there and then get it all back together and get it running. Okay, so we can see here again we have the same issues. You know, people still aren't gapping their spark plugs and setting them up properly. They take them out of a packet and put them in. So I'm not having a go at the owner here. This is rife. You know, this is over many owners. You know, people still haven't got the ability to understand that if you take a spark plug out of a packet, it needs to be gapped to match the coil and the ignition system that you've got, the application. Okay, so the place to start with that is looking in your manual. Now, if you've got a standard car, just apply what's in the manual to your spark plug and then fit them in the engine. I've also seen it where people try to gap the plugs and get them all wrong, or all different sizes and all the rest of it. There is a video by Darren Haynes over at Darren's Restorations on how to use feeler blades and gap your spark plugs. So what I'll do is I'll put a link down to that in the description of this video, so you can see how to gap spark plugs and how to use feeler blades, and actually how to go about the purposes of using a feeler. I know that might sound ridiculous to some of you, but trust me, it's a real issue for owners nowadays who don't have that experience or have never been shown. Okay, got the engine going. First thing we notice is it seems to be running out of fuel, and I've taken it out. I've taken the float out, and I can see that somebody's done the right thing, put a needle valve in it. But unfortunately, the float level setting is miles off, so this is way too low. So I need to adjust that before we can work out what's exactly going on with the carburetor. Hopefully, that'll solve my issue. Okay, so got the engine running, got the timing dialed in, that's all working, got the new vacuum unit on, that's giving plenty of advance. Spark plugs are all working, gap properly. Turn our attention to the carburetor. The needle I put in, which is an AH2, is actually spot on. Unfortunately, we're running out of fuel. So it's either, I've checked the fuel pressure, but because I haven't got a good reliable fitting, I'm leaking fuel. So but what I am noticing is it's running out of fuel after about a minute's worth of running and revving it. So the only thing I've got left that I can do today, I've checked for air leaks. We had a loose manifold, so I've tightened that up. What I'm now going to do, all I've got left is the option of changing the carb. So I'm going to take that option and then we'll go from there. Okay, so it was at this point in the tune that I realised that there was a further problem in terms of the carburetor. So no matter what I did to it, we started to get a situation where after 45 seconds, maybe a minute, it would start to lean out. So as it said there, I've already gone through, I've had the float bowl off, I've checked the float level, I've made sure that's clear. I've also, made sure that we got lots of fuel coming in, which we have. It was literally pumping it out from the pump that was fitted. So the only thing left at this point was, once I'd checked to make sure we got no air leaks, and there were loose bolts, so I did all that as well. I then had no other option, was to fit a new carburetor. So despite what some people think, I don't often go around and change carburetors on people's cars unless they absolutely need it. So in this case, I'd gone through a process of elimination, and the only thing left in my arsenal of repairs was to effectively change the carburetor. So because I'd gone that distance, I'd already made sure I'd bought a spare one just in case. If you want me to come out to a car and it's that distance, you'll pay me quite a bit of money. So the reason why you're paying for quite a bit of money is because you're paying for the service. So you would expect me to have spare parts, so I don't need to come back and obviously charge you again, which is even more expensive. So in this case, I did have one of my ACDodd rebuilt zero tolerance HS2 carburetors in stock, so I was able to fit that, and we can see the results as we play the rest of the video. Okay, so we had problems with fueling. So carburetor wise, unfortunately, it was just not carbureting. So after a little while, you'd rev it and then it would run out of fuel and go dead lean. So as usual, when I come out to tunes, especially this one, which has come a long way, I brought with me a rebuilt ACDodd HS2 carb. Tested the fuel pressure, that all appeared to be good. So we changed the carb. And hey presto, we seem to be fixed. So I'm now just dialing that new carb in. The engine sounds much better, the fueling's much more stabilized. So yeah, as I say, sometimes when you come out to cars, you can't tune what's already there, and in this case, unfortunately, I've come a long way and the customer's got a particularly large bill now that he's got a new carburetor. But the best thing about the new carb is you can never be worse off with the new carb. So actually you're paying for more fuel control, and it's going to stay in tune longer. So we need to go over to the needle lathe now to get this all dialed in, and then hopefully she's ready for a test drive. Okay, so we're over on the needle lathe getting this new carb dialed in, and we've got the M needle. So on the original carb, the original needle was GX, which was, off the scale lean. So I went to an AH2, which was much better. But unfortunately, we had problems with the carb, which is why we had to change it. So tried the AH2 in the new carb, that was too rich. So we've gone back to the M, which the carb was supplied with. And then all I've done with this one is just add a bit more fuel at the top end of the rev range. So we'll get this back in now, and hopefully she'll be good to go. Okay, so just a little interject here regarding how I tune this particular engine. Those standard air filters with the standard air filter element are terrible. So I discussed this with the owner as to say, actually, you've put a modified head on this engine, and actually you're not going to get any benefit with that standard air filter fitted in the airbox. So as he said to me, he only uses the car very, very rarely. Or very low miles, and I just said, well, just remove the air filter, because the airflow will quite literally double or more. It's they're terrible restrictions on those little air boxes. So I've removed the filter, and obviously tuning was done with the filter case fitted on the carburetor, because even an empty case actually affects the fueling on these engines, because even the standard case with nothing in it is restrictive. So as I say, to be clear, I did the tuning with the filter case fitted with no air filter in it. And obviously the results will speak for themselves. So let's get back to it. Okay, so in summary, we've done the tune. So original coil, 3 ohm. We put a new vacuum unit on. We gapped the points, and we've also set the timing. We've got about 30 degrees on this one. It's a low compression engine, about 9-to-1 with this modified head. And then obviously we got to the carburetor, had problems with that, so we had to change the carb. Anyway, new carb's working fine. Engine sounds really aggressive, so I've got high hopes the customer's going to love this. So let's get him out and see what he thinks. Okay, so James has been out for a drive in his car. There's a huge smile there, I can see that. So what's it like now, James?
Different car.
Wonderful.
Different car, isn't it? Hey? It's like the acceleration's so much more responsive, and it's like driving a modern car rather than a 60-year-old car.
Yeah.
Which I didn't expect it to. Are we going? Didn't expect it to be that good, to be honest with you.
Yeah. At the end of the day, obviously it needed a new carb.
Yeah.
But it's obviously transformed it now.
Oh yeah, like a new car. It's amazing.
All right, wonderful.
Money well spent.
Excellent. Would you recommend this to anyone else?
100%, everybody.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate you getting me out to look at this car.
Pleasure.
And give me the chance to make it really run well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So today we're up in Redditch, and we've got ourselves a nice Scamp Mk1, as it says on the side of the vehicle. This is all business, utilitarian vehicle, and under the bonnet it's got a Tweak 1275, and our job today is to get this machine dialed in. So as usual, we're going to start with the coil and see where we are. I think this is a 3 ohm unit, so we'll just verify that by checking it with the meter. There we go, 3 ohms. Yeah, just check the zero the meter. 0.3, 0.2. Yeah, there we go. So we've got a 3 ohm coil, and this is running a 123 ignition, and it's the Bluetooth one, so it's the tune. So we can look at trying to increase the coil power on this, because 3 ohm is going to be a problem. So what we'll do is we'll start the engine up, just verify that it's variable dwell, which I believe it is. So I'm doing it for the benefit of the camera, so you can see what's what. So let's start the engine. So if we look at that, we can see it's idling at 17 degrees. So if I rev that, I don't know if I can actually reach it. Let's see if I can do it. As you can see, variable dwell. So yeah, we're going to be undercharging the spark plugs at this point. So we need to look at changing that coil. And we'll also check the H2 leads now, and we'll move on to the spark plugs. Okay, so moving on to the Scamp here. First thing we look at is obviously the coil. Now we've got a 3 ohm coil, and we've got an ignition system. In this case, it's the 123 tune Dizzy, that's got variable dwell. So what you have to remember is when you've only got 17 degrees of dwell, that is actually only putting about 3.5 times less energy into the spark plugs when it's idling. Now some people would say, well, it's still running and it's still started okay. Yeah, but the difference is it would start and run a lot better and run a lot leaner if it was running more coil power. So what we're going to do here, and that's why I did this, is to show you how to check that dwell, and then obviously make a decision to put the right coil on. And in this particular case, I carry a 1.5 ohm ballast coil. And I'll say the word ballast coil because that's what it's normally used for. In this particular case, it's fitted to this engine or to that ignition system without the use of a ballast wire, because the variable dwell does effectively an electronic version of the ballast. So let's get that fitted and move on. Spark plugs, very interesting colour. So it looks like initially we're a bit rich, but actually I just think this has maybe been running on choke for a little bit, because we've got some the right colour, but I think we're also, judging by the fact it's running on a little bit when I turn it off, I think we haven't got enough timing. So as we can see, if we look at those electrodes, it's a bit difficult to tell really, because obviously I've only just come here with a cold start, but I think we need a bit more timing. So an area to look at is the 123 tune, so we'll be diving into that. But the other thing is our spark plug gaps are too big, so we're going to drop them down to 25 thou, and then move on to the next part of the tune. Okay, so plugs are all out. We've just seen the plugs. H2 leads are all good. They're all the performance H2 leads from Power Spark, so these are all good resistance. The plug gap is wide, so I'm going to drop that down to 25 thou. And the other thing I've done while this is out is I've taken a quick look down the bore and verified that the TDC mark is actually corresponding to the position of the piston. The reason why I've done that is obviously I've looked at the spark plugs thinking we might be a bit retarded with our ignition timing, so that looks good. So clearly we need to look at the way that the curve in the distributor, and obviously where the distributor is set. In terms of mixture, this car's already fitted with a wideband gauge inside, so I don't need to use my one, and I've already confirmed that we are 18 to 19 to 1 AFR up the rev range, so we're very lean. So our issue here is the needle and the setting up of the carb is totally inappropriate for the engine. So what we're going to do is get this ignition system where we need to be, and then we'll look at dialing that carburetor in. Okay, so engine's running again. We've put a 1.5 ohm coil on. What I've also done is verified that the distributor timing matches what we've got on the phone app. Because this is a 1-2-3 tune, there's absolutely no point in messing around with that if that doesn't respond to what's actually measuring on the crankshaft. So do that using the strobe light, which we've done. Now I can go through, sort the carburetor out, and then we'll look at the vacuum tuning once we've actually got the thing running where we want on fueling. So carburetor's off. First thing we noticed is we got a compressed red spring. That's a little bit off, so we changed that. I've put a yellow spring in the dash pot. So yellow spring, you can tell it doesn't sit all the way down, so that's how we know we've got a nice yellow spring in there. The other thing we've noticed is we've got 1505 damper, and the piston is not dropping as fast as it needs to. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So if we just screw that in there, so it goes up, and look how long it takes to drop, right? So we need to change that. So what we're going to do in this case is we're going to change that for a 2085 damper. See that? Much faster drop, right? So that, what we was having a problem with was when I was revving it and turning the engine off, the engine would actually stall because that piston wasn't returning fast enough. Now the other thing I'm also going to do with this is the accelerator pump effect is quite strong, so I'm going to thin the oil out in the dash pot as well. So, damper tuning. Yeah, as you can see there, I've obviously identified a problem. People don't realise that dampers are actually a tunable part of carb calibration. So the rise rate has to be right to get the right enrichment on acceleration, and obviously the drop rate needs to be right as well to make sure that you don't get any flat spots between gear changes. And also on certain applications, dropping the damper fast can actually enrich in the mixture on overrun. But in the case of an A series, that's not normally an issue because the engine's typically a small size. So in this particular case, what you want is that when you change gear, the piston needs to fall to the correct position once the gear change has been made and you put your foot back on the accelerator to be able to fuel the engine properly. A lot of people, and this particular car was no exception, between gear changes it would fall flat. When you put your foot back on the accelerator, and also when you revved it hard, just idling and give it a rev and take your foot off, it would stall because the piston would still be open by the time the engine had returned to idle. So it's an important part of SU tuning if you want the best out of your carburetor, to be able to make sure that the damper is actually doing the job that you want, not the job that it wants. Right, so we're over on the needle lathe with this Scamp engine, and we've gone through a couple of needles. So I try the needle in it was a BDR, which was too lean. We changed to a yellow spring, it was still too lean. So then I went to one of my special RI needles, which are basically a fixed needle that's been modified to fit a bias sprung carb, That confirmed that the carburetor was working, and it was obviously too rich. So now we come back to a BCF needle, and that's actually spot on at full power. So what we're now going to do is dial the needle in, so we've got the part throttle fuel in to match, because this BCF's too lean. So I'll get that done, and then we'll get it back in, and we'll see what it goes like. Very interesting needle profile needed for this engine. It was the engine was producing a lot of torque, so it needed quite a lot of fuel during the part throttle phase. So much so, in fact, that there was no needle ever been made that would actually fuel that. So it's just a good example of where, if you've got a specific engine requirement and your engine needs a lot of fuel because the engine's breathing very well, then needles aren't necessarily, well, haven't necessarily been made in the past that would actually fuel that. So in this particular case, the only way this owner would have fueled that engine is by the use of a custom needle. So this is quite common. So it's not, you know, when people say to me, oh, well, there's hundreds of needles, there'll always be a needle. That's just not the case. There isn't always a needle that will fit the application right across the rev range. So in this particular case, the owner actually needed a custom needle to make this fuel correctly. So tune's finished. What we need to do now is send the owner out in it. Hopefully be happy. This has come out quite aggressive, so I think this is going to run really well. Okay, owner's been out for a test drive. I just pulled plug number 2, and you can see that's the same plug that we had earlier. I've not done any cleaning, but that's cleaned up itself, so that's working really well. We've obviously got a burn that's all the way around the end as well, so I'm very happy with that. So yeah, this has been very successful. Okay, so yeah, we got to the end of that tune-up. What I didn't add in there is the fact I did do some vacuum advanced tuning on the 123 tune distributor. So effectively, I pulled out some vacuum, not in terms of how much. I actually added vacuum advance. I added 5 extra degrees because it was only giving 10, so I took it up to 15. But I brought down the vacuum where it was bringing full vacuum in, so it was actually you know, giving full vacuum more like over 12 inches of mercury, rather than more like 8, which I think it was set at before. So anyway, the point is, I did tune the vacuum, and I added more vacuum advance. So yeah, that engine went very well. Now, one of the other thing the owner said to me, obviously he's not on the video, but he was quite impressed at how good the fueling curve was on his car, because don't forget, he'd gone out and driven this and told me the figures, so I was unable to tune that car because he had an installed wideband. And he was saying he couldn't believe how good a mechanical carburetor was versus the fuel injection that he was used to. So at one point there, when I was running across the rev range, we actually had 14.2 to 14.3 from basically idle all the way to 5,000 RPM on part throttle. So yeah, he was amazed that that could actually be achieved by mechanical means. And basically the answer I gave him was, you have to remember, even now, more time and development's been spent on carburetors than have fuel injection. Obviously in the next 20 years that's liable to change, but in reality, carburetor design, the mechanical carburetor design had got to a state of the art by the time that fuel injection came in, because they developed that right to the end of what was possible before they had to do fuel injection. So yeah, mechanical carbs are very good. The only problem is there's precious few now that can actually make those carburetors work properly, and the SU is no exception. So anyway, with that being said, the owner was very happy with the performance. The car was very aggressive and sprightly. He was very pleased with the work I'd done. So as ever, please like, subscribe, and share this content, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.